So my name is Marta Niccolai and my chapter is Theatre and as Solidarity, putting yourself in the shoes of a refugee through performance. The context of the chapter is the refugee crisis, a term used to define the arrival in the European Union of a large number of non-Europeans and non-Westerners who have fled persecution, countries at war, and the violation of human rights. The media and European governments have tried to make it increasingly difficult for asylum seekers to be seen as people in great danger, regularly portraying asylum seekers as lying to gain entry to Western countries. Theatre practitioners, amongst others, have created counter-narratives to these official discourses and have sought to bridge the gap between the audience and refugees or asylum seekers whose life stories are often concealed by the media. The chapter examines two productions by Hidden Theatre, Teatro di Nascosto, a theatre company based in Italy in the town of Volterra in the region of Tuscany, central Italy. The company is founded and directed by Annette Henneman, originally from Holland, who moved to Italy in the 1980s. And since 1997, Hidden Theatre has placed refugees and their stories at the center of its work in order to touch the public and influence policymakers. Their methodology is called theatre reportage, a term coined by Annette Henneman to indicate the combination of facts and performance with the aim to influence people's opinion on fundamental social issues. The presence of journalistic information within the creative medium of performance has the important function of presenting reality in a form that is different from news channels, the internet, and photographic images that are repeated regularly. As part of the process of theatre reportage, a theatrical event is prepared with refugees, asylum seekers, actors from Middle East and Europe, who live and rehearse together for 2 weeks, generating a deep collaboration amongst all the members. In the chapter, I discuss in depth the notion of hospitality, in itself a term that evokes an ancient tradition, a philosophical value. It becomes a complex issue when applied to asylum seekers, commonly seen as guests who do not give anything back, who exploit the wealth of a host country and here to stay indefinitely. At least that is the fear in the West. And it is more akin to hostility. In the approach and methodology for hidden theatre, hospitality becomes synonym with community and collaboration, as the chapter will illustrate. If anything, because in 1997, when the theatre company first started, Henneman, together with some members of the theatre group, travelled to the country of origin of the asylum seekers, keen to know what circumstances led them to face such a dangerous journey to reach Europe. She was a host who exchanged the hospitality with their interest in their life stories, stories that ever since are the core content of her performances. And the locals provided her with the help she needed in a country that can be unsafe for travellers. The notion of voice is very important for Henneman, compelled to tell the stories of people who have no voice. So all the stories come from refugees. Recent research revealed that the opinions of refugees are rarely represented. Henneman's work aimed to build human counter-narratives to the more political, militarized ones found in the European press that purposefully silence refugees, women, especially. The performance in itself is a space which enables voices to be heard. The first play I analysed by Hidden Theatre is called Far Away from Kurdistan and is from 1997. And it tells the journey of three Turkish Kurds who flee to Italy, one of which is a mother who lost her son, but nonetheless she wants to believe that he is still alive. The mother is interpreted by Hanneman that you see in this picture here. The true protagonists of Far Away from Kurdistan are actually the people mentioned by the characters, people alive or no longer alive, whom they left behind and oftentimes disappeared in unspeakable circumstances that are sometimes described in detail, and the impression is that the stage becomes animated by their presence. And giving people a name and showing their pictures are devices used to bring them closer to the audience, when otherwise they remain an anonymous group under the label of refugees without ever acquiring an identity. The second performance I analyze is an hyphenated word which, depending on where you place the accent, can read as refugees or seek refuge. And this particular play has an exceptional cast, not only asylum seekers and refugees, a journalist and activist, a lawyer who visited a detention center, and members of the European Parliament in Brussels. Therefore, all people with first-hand experience of the plight of those seeking asylum, which is seen in this case from several angles. The realism in the play is very strong given the experience that these people carry inside, since all the statements stem from real life experiences. And altogether they question the boundaries really between performance and reality. And it was also staged in unusual locations, such as a former psychiatric hospital or a former slaughterhouse, or, like you see in the picture here, in a disused underground parking. Really all locations which make it difficult for the audience to interpret what they see and experience through the knowledge they have, thus reproducing what they already know. So hopefully this will generate new feelings and new perceptions of refugees. Ultimately, the audience should feel motivated to question themselves and the society they live in, perhaps to act more empathically towards the suffering of culturally distant people. Enjoy the book.